Today I want to share with you 10 surprising symptoms of OCD. So what is OCD really? We've all seen stereotypical depictions of OCD in the media, things like Detective Adrian Monk constantly sanitizing his hands, or Emma Pillsbury from Glee spending hours polishing grapes. You probably even met someone in real life obsessed with symmetry, orderliness, and perfectionism. I'm sure you've even heard people joke about being so OCD, but OCD is not cute or a quirky personality trait. It's a serious disorder. Left untreated, OCD can be incredibly debilitating and can completely control your life. In this video, I want to highlight some symptoms of OCD that you may not have heard about. Personally, I had no idea that I had OCD until a few years ago because of all the stereotypes about OCD being external and physical symptoms. However, OCD symptoms can be more internal and invisible. Things like intrusive thoughts and doubts and a need for certainty and control. These internal symptoms can make OCD difficult to spot and treat. By the way, hello, my name is Connie, and this channel is about overcoming OCD to live the kind of life that you value. Okay, quick disclaimer, even though I have OCD myself and I can share my own experiences, I'm not a licensed mental health professional. This video is intended for informational purposes only. Please seek professional help as needed regarding your unique mental health needs. The content in this particular video was inspired by Quinlan's podcast called Your Anxiety Toolkit, which I love and is a great resource for OCD and anxiety. Check out her episode on OCD and mental compulsions, linked below. Now let's get into the video and talk about the 10 surprising symptoms of OCD. Number 1. You overthink everything. Also known as rumination, mental review, or analysis paralysis, you may have OCD if you are constantly overthinking everything. You find yourself stuck in your head a lot at the expense of taking action and living your life. Maybe you find yourself losing a lot of time thinking about things in depth. This can leave you feeling drained and low energy because your brain is constantly working overtime, kind of like a computer with a bunch of tabs open or programs running in the background. Although it's normal to use your brain to strategize and reflect on things to an extent, where this crosses into OCD territory is when you get caught in an endless, unproductive loop, constantly mulling over problems but never reaching a solution. Reviewing past decisions, actions, conversations, tasks, or events to make sure they were done correctly. Fixating on worries about the future, imagining every possible negative outcome. Obsessing over minor issues or ways to optimize your life even when things are going great. Number 2, you need reassurance. Everyone loves reassurance. It's nice to hear a partner say, "I love you" multiple times a day, and it's so convenient to just pull up your phone to check your symptoms online. But with OCD, reassurance becomes obsessive and repetitive, often combined with an irrational sense of urgency, like checking your bank balance multiple times a day to make sure you have enough money. Similar to the previous point, with reassurance, there's still a lot going on inside your head. However, to me, reassurance differs slightly from rumination because you're depending on external validation. Other examples of obsessive reassurance could be asking a loved one multiple times if they're okay or if they're mad at you, constantly reviewing your appearance in your mind or in a mirror to see if you look okay, constantly checking in with your doctor or therapist to see if your symptoms mean that you have a serious condition. Number 3. You are hypervigilant. I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. It's natural to want to protect yourself or your loved ones from potential danger. However, hypervigilance involves an unrelenting and often irrational sense of urgency. This type of hypervigilance is common with PTSD, but can overlap with OCD. Number 4, you practice mental rituals. Okay, so I don't personally relate to this one as much as some of the others, but I've definitely met people who struggle with this, so I wanted to include it. Mental rituals are repetitive thoughts or mental lists that involve words, numbers, or phrases. For example, you might repeat things to yourself or count words or spaces on road signs. You might count letters, objects, actions, or even thoughts silently in your head. This can be an effort to prevent bad outcomes or simply calm your anxiety. Some other examples of mental rituals are visualizing a protective barrier around yourself, mentally organizing your thoughts to prevent anxiety, reciting a mantra silently to yourself to cope with stress, uncertainty, or intrusive thoughts. Trying to cancel out or neutralize negative or unwanted thoughts with more positive ones may be another sign of OCD. Essentially, this is where you try to negate a harmful thought by replacing it with something good. Some examples are counteracting bad thoughts by immediately thinking of a good one, reciting prayers or religious phrases to ward off anxiety or unwanted guilt, using distraction techniques, using techniques like deep breathing and meditation to neutralize intrusive thoughts. Okay, number 6, you are hyper-responsible. This involves an exaggerated sense of responsibility for preventing harm to others. You might constantly worry that your actions or inactions could lead to disastrous consequences, like leaving an appliance on and causing a fire. Hyper-responsibility may lead to excessive checking and reviewing, causing significant anxiety and interfering with daily functioning. Number 7, you have trouble sleeping. This one kind of ties into the point about overthinking everything, but it's actually pretty common for people with OCD to have trouble sleeping because their brains are working overtime. Of course, you can have insomnia without necessarily having OCD. You can also have OCD without having insomnia, but insomnia and OCD do commonly intersect. It just really depends on the individual. Individuals with OCD may perform rigid nighttime routines to help them sleep. These might be physical rituals such as checking lights or doors, or mental rituals such as reviewing, counting, analyzing things in your head. Ironically, these rituals can actually disrupt sleep patterns and contribute to insomnia. Others may experience anxiety around falling asleep because of what might happen while they are sleeping. They may be worried about possible danger to themselves or others, or maybe they're just stressed out about having to wake up at a certain time. Number 8, you are a chronic procrastinator. This one hits home for me so hard. And I'm not saying that if you're a procrastinator, you necessarily have OCD. A lot of people struggle with procrastination. However, if you're finding that procrastination for you is ritualistic and chronic, usually to avoid anxiety, it may actually be a symptom of OCD. Some examples include avoiding specific thoughts, responsibilities, or memories by distracting yourself with things like social media, TV, or even work. You might also use excessive exercise or chores or other activities to avoid uncomfortable thoughts or anxiety. Number 9, you punish yourself. One symptom of OCD is self-punishment. This one is a bit dark, but it really hits home for me. Like I said before, OCD is not a cute or quirky personality trait. OCD can be an abusive and brutal bully, constantly flooding your mind with unwanted thoughts and self-doubt. Self-punishment can take many different forms. You may be too critical of yourself, you may be too strict or too disciplined, or maybe you consistently withhold pleasure from yourself. Again, this may not necessarily mean that you have OCD. It's just a very common symptom because of the intrusive thoughts that come in your head that are just constantly telling you you're not good enough or constantly telling you lies about yourself. Self-punishment might also be an effort to rid yourself of bad thoughts or avoid punishment in the future. And finally, number 10, you play the comparison game. If you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, or even comparing yourself to another idealized version of yourself, this may actually be a symptom of OCD. Some examples include comparing yourself to peers or societal norms, usually focusing on your shortcomings or flaws, and feeling inadequate if you fall short. You might obsessively compare your relationship to others and feel bad that yours isn't as good. Of course, you can always compare yourself to social media accounts and feel like you're not living up to expectations. Navigating OCD. What's next? Okay, so if you have stuck with me this far, you may have related to some of these symptoms or maybe been reminded of somebody you know. If so, you may be wondering, what's next? The good news is that OCD is treatable using a type of cognitive behavioral therapy called Exposure Response Prevention, or ERP. ERP essentially involves gradually facing your fears and resisting compulsive behaviors. ERP is not easy, but with a therapist's guidance, you'll eventually be able to tolerate the discomfort and anxiety of OCD. So if you or someone you know is struggling with OCD or any of the symptoms mentioned in this video, know that there is hope. ERP therapy can help you reclaim your life from the grip of OCD so that you can start living the kind of life that you value. One reason I wanted to start this YouTube channel is because I didn't find out that I had OCD until I was 35, and by then OCD was completely controlling my life. So my main goal with this channel is to spread awareness about OCD, but also to spread hope, because it is possible to take back your life from OCD and start living the kind of life that you value. So anyway, that's it for this video. Check back for more videos about OCD, ERP, and living the kind of life that you value. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.